everyone to the first of our 2022 webinar series of Conversations with Clients, where we have the opportunity to talk to our clients about their market, how they have adapted to market conditions, their product innovation, marketing communication, and how working with Active has helped their business to achieve more. So today we are delighted to be speaking to Gerard Nolan, Associate Vice President, Commercial EMEA at Celebrity Cruises. Good afternoon, Gerard. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Mark. Great to finally get to connect. So,
isn't it just on this freezing January day, and we're going to be talking about holidays. Nothing better, I think. So when I was preparing for our chat, I was aware I didn't really want to take the temperature of the market too early, as conditions seem to change so frequently and rapidly that it kind of resembled one of my teenage son's mood swings. However, in the last couple of weeks, there have been definite feelings of cautious optimism with hopes for a near normal summer, I think as they're calling it. Travel Weekly reported the scrapping of pre-departure dates on January the 7th and of the PCR on arrival tests on January the 9th as a big turning point at the start of the trade's peak sales period. Many are seeing demand higher than over 18 months. And as one pundit put it, this is the beginning of the end. The only way is up. So I think whether you're a travel company or just a holiday maker wanting to get away, this is what we've been waiting for the last 18 months. So plenty to be optimistic about. However, it's been said we probably learn more from the hard times than the easy ones. So on that note, Gerard, how has the last 18 months been for Celebrity Cruises as the travel sector has navigated the most challenging commercial period in our lifetime?
Well, good afternoon again, Mark. I think it's great to be here and good to give you a little bit of an insight into what we've been experiencing and seeing. But to your point, I think the UK restrictions that have been changed have been really well received. You know, I think all of the travel sector is seeing that as a real positive move. And I think us in our field, you know, we're Miami based and our company headquarters is out there. So more times than not, we're bound to a degree by also additional restrictions under the CDC. So the Control for Disease and Prevention, and that also has seen a bit more positivity of late, where we've seen an order where we were not able to sail, been moved to more guidance, more voluntary. So the signs, as you say, are improving. And if I think about my broader remit outside of the UK and I, we're seeing something similar in our European markets. So if anything, the restrictions in the last week or two have started to relax. You know, testing's still going to be there, but the restrictions themselves look like they're easing, which, you know, it's what we need and it's what we're really wanting, to really encourage our guests and consumers to really think about and book holidays again.
Yeah, that's great. And are you finding that it changes between countries? Presumably, this is presumably quite a rare situation where, you know, you've got different restrictions in different countries, and therefore you presumably have that fluctuation in demand between them.
Yeah, we do. You know, you've everything from just the general run of a year where, you know, holidays are different. They're different periods. So you see businesses return, some sooner, some a little bit later. So yeah, it does vary a lot across the different nationalities and countries that we manage. A good example is in the Netherlands. You know, they've been restricting and reintroducing their kind of social restrictions, and other countries have not been as rigid. So it's quite varied, but generally, if you take the temperature check across the broader environment, it very much is feeling better, feeling brighter, and, you know, demand week on week is improving. So we've seen that in most of our markets, that demand piece, which is fundamentally our real only litmus test, is definitely growing and improving. So yeah, positive signs, Mark, as you say, which is exactly what we're looking for.
I just happened to, it's just a small point really, but I happened to notice your one of the customer apps that had probably helped you get through this. Do you want to just touch upon that sort of just briefly?
Yeah, well, Mark, if I give you a bit of a kind of how has it been to your original question, you know, if I think if you think back 20 months ago, the real word was uncertainty. And, you know, in the UK market, we had a ban on cruising. it was really difficult for guests and ourselves alike to really understand what is the environmental landscape we're going to operate in. But, things have progressed hugely. And through the period, we really focused on three real fundamentals. So for us, it was very much communication was really one of our core pillars. But we called it the three C's. So we have communication, collaboration, and coordination. And really, if I think through those three component parts, that's really what has held us in a really good way through the pandemic. And, in times where it's uncertain, communication for us has really been key, and it's what's really helped us navigate through the pandemic in quite a I wouldn't say seamless. We've had our bumps in the road, but you know what? That's really been what's key. And if I go back to 20 months ago, really, we weren't rushing to come back into sailing again. We wanted to do it slowly. We wanted to do it in a really measured way. And, we wanted to make sure, first and foremost, we were really making sure it's safe. That's fundamental in everything.
Yeah, sure.
But back at that point, if you recall, we needed to make sure we got our guests home. In this period, we had people still sailing, and we wanted to make sure we get everyone home safely. And equally our crew, our crew are so fundamental to everything we do. We needed to make sure we had everyone back home safe and in play. So as I say, we didn't rush. We wanted to make sure we navigated and were quite meticulous in how we planned. And there was no advantage of being first. That was really important. That was done safely and in a really measured way. But as you say, things are improving, and things are definitely seeing an upward turn in demand, which is great.
So in terms of, your logistical effort to get everyone back was incredibly impressive. And I know you won't want to blow your own trumpet, but I've seen the stats, and it's just extraordinary of kind of 10,000 crew back to their countries. So there's a massive logistical operation there, as you say. But the in terms of adapting and changing, because this is, the unprecedented was the term that was banded about in 2019. That was getting out of fashion, 20 rather. And in terms of your ability to adapt and how the business adapted to these extraordinary circumstances, can you just share a few kind of thoughts in that area?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you touched on us bringing back our guests and crew. We used our ships. We used our ships to bring guests and our crew home, and it's a military operation. Our team on board are amazing on any given day, but this was a new level. So that was a real again combination of the three C's: communication, collaboration, and coordination. But if I think through, how do we adapt? We really wanted to make sure through this piece that we adapted. So we spent a lot of time in the pause, really thinking about, as we come back out of this pause, we want to take advantage of that. And we really took a step back and thought about our business. But if you think of how we adapted in that immediate period, we really worked through our scenarios and what is it going to be like to cruise when we have the opportunity. I don't think any of us would have thought that we would be operating around the UK. If you consider, we go to the entire globe and we do it successfully, and our guests enjoy it. But we wouldn't have thought in any given year we'd be operating around the UK sailings just for UK consumers. And we had a fantastic season. We learned an awful lot about ourselves, but equally we learned that there is an appetite there, and there's an opportunity that comes out of everything in life. But that was quite important, because if you consider 21 competitors operating around the UK, all using broadly similar ports, that's a very different adaptation of what we do year in, year out. And the environment that took, it was real collaboration with our partners at CLIA, so the Cruise Line International Association, really working together to get a set of parameters that we could all operate in. So you think about adaptation and what we had to work our way through. It was extensive, and it touched every part of our consumer journey. We talk a lot in our company about innovation, and we use innovation to aid us. So, for example, we wanted to make sure our experience for a guest when we returned was as frictionless as possible. And that's quite important now in our current way of travel. So we use everything from facial recognition technology. A lot of our app was doing the work in advance, so you kind of reduced contact. But we did use a huge amount of innovation throughout that consumer journey to make sure it was as safe as it could possibly be. The other thing, sorry, go for it.
No, go on, sorry.
I was just going to add one more thing. I think we knew that the consumer needed to have confidence in what we were doing, and equally to enable them to book. And we adapted a lot of our policies to make sure that we were listening to consumer feedback. And we introduced a policy called Cruise with Confidence. And that very much gave increased reassurance and flexibility so that if you're booking and things change, it's okay. You can make changes, you've got flexibility built in. And that was something we didn't have pre-pandemic. So we're keeping things, really good things in play. We're not losing things having come out the other side or coming out the other side, but adapting has been pretty much across every strand of our business, and a really important part through the pandemic.
Yeah, I found that, I mean, cruising with confidence, that is an idea that is a classic kind of, right, back up against the walls, the market has dropped off. What do we do as a new idea? And I think to reassure and give that reassurance to incentivize customers thinking about, booking cruise, I think is one of the great, innovations to come out of extremely tough times. So I thought that was really, really impressive. I was just thinking as you were talking about, going around the UK, maybe we've cut off all those Mediterranean holidays now. Maybe it's just going to be massive cool to go around to the coast of Scotland. But no, we all suddenly discovered the British Isles, didn't we, for the last couple of years? So actually, it probably has had an effect somehow. Anyway, thanks for sharing that. It's great. So what do you reckon was your kind of biggest learning over that period?
The biggest learning, I think you could put it into probably three buckets. That communication piece that we referenced is huge, but the reassurance and making sure we are reassuring, and actually travel at the minute is complex. So one of the key things we learned was how do we simplify it for our guests, but also, through our partners. We've got, we don't sell, we sell across different channels. So making sure that we were able to simplify it, communicate it, and actually that reassurance piece, that it was good to think about holidays again. That was quite an important piece in the earlier part. If I think about the other things, just more fundamental, we had to adapt and learn to work and operate the business remotely. We are a people business, that is us week in, week out, and interacting face to face was huge. But we've done an exceptional job in my mind of managing to operate a very complex business remotely. And I think, listen, we all want to get back into an office space where we're together, because creativity stems from that. But navigating our way through in a virtual world has been it's been challenging, but equally there's rewards that come with it. And maybe the third and final point, Mark, would be the passion our team have for our business. When you consider, there's so much unknowns, and the team navigating the way through that, the passion that we have and the strength of our teams is probably that third component that I think we've learned a huge amount about. Our team, there's a real desire to make the business successful, and really, that's really what's shone through in the last 20 odd months.
Yeah, and you must get an enormous amount of pride for that when you see remote workers pulling together. Face economic circumstances you guys have ever faced, and still coming out, the end in incredibly good health. So in tough times, there are threats, obviously, to the market predominantly, but also there are opportunities that come out from that. What are those some of the opportunities that have come out of that tough time that may or may not would have done, but probably speeded up, that you found were good examples of that?
So I touched on the desire for us to use the time to really think about our business again. And we use the pause and we use the term, the comeback is going to be stronger than the setback. And I think it's very relevant and very true in the business. But when we had that pause, we used it to really define and get clear on what is our proposition. And if I think about the time we spent, we used our consumers and we worked our way through feedback around our positioning. But we really wanted to make sure we had a real sharp definition of what our brand is going to stand for. And within that, we introduced a positioning on new luxury. So new luxury is very much what our brand stands for. And to put it in very simple terms, it's not that old traditional luxury. It's very much intuitive. We want to be a step ahead of the consumer at every point in time and make sure that it is always thought about before the consumer and the guest thinks about it. So we spent time really thinking about our positioning. But what came from that, Mark, was that we also thought about how do we convey to a consumer what is the pricing and promotional with the way we position in market. And we introduced and simplified our offering. So we wanted to make sure it was easy for consumers to understand. So we introduced a concept called Always Included. And in very simple terms, every cabin or room on our ships has the exact same offering. So it always has tips, it always has drinks included, and it always has Wi-Fi. And I think that was a real example of, taking a step back and thinking, God, is this simple for a consumer to understand? Is this the best way to portray it? And really, that was a great outcome that we put into play. And
was that during I don't know, 2020? Was that during?
Yeah, so it was very early on in the pandemic. We're working on it, and I think we took that opportunity now to launch it. And look at any ship, any sailing anywhere in the globe. It's a simple proposition, a lot simpler than we were previous. I suppose one other thing to pull out, Mark, from the opportunity. So we took the opportunity to use and convey our messaging in probably the biggest way possible. We launched our biggest ever advertising campaign just in October. So, we've got confidence that we're in the right place, and we really invested, and we really believe that this is the right time to be investing. So it was our biggest ever. It was, you probably have seen it. If you haven't, it's Isn't It Time? Our advertising campaign is what we've launched, and it's global. It's across every market, and it's been really well received by our consumers and guests alike. So this was a few nuggets in there of what we've been really working on.
Absolutely. I think, Isn't It Time? It just, chimes on two wonderful. it's the most perfect context you could have really for an ad. Is when it was launched last autumn, the longing, the pent up demand from what it's not even, demand's not the right word. As a holidaymaker, it is, we're desperate to go away. So it's not just demand, it's a real feeling. And I just think that landed so well as a piece of communication. And it was incredible. It was also, you'd say brave, but actually, they say about advertising, in the good times, you should advertise, but in the bad times, you must advertise. And I think what loads of researchers have shown over recessions and tough times in the market is that if you do invest, particularly just as the market is pulling out, or even sometimes just a bit before the market pulls out, then you will reap the rewards with market share and new customers as your relative share of voice increases. So I thought it was a very strong statement and a fantastic campaign, and obviously we will hope it pays off when the market picks up. You should be rewarded for that kind of courage of going into the market. And yeah, it's just to watch that ad. If any of you listeners haven't, you should definitely see it. It'll get you longing and straight onto the booking sites. I think just to touch upon the always included, that for me is, again, you've had Cruise with Confidence and Always Included, two innovations that it feels to me like might not have been born unless things were really tough. So those two seem great innovations, but also alongside the fact that it probably hasn't really interrupted, from a long-term point of view, your desire to build new ships ever more, a lot of them with massive luxury going forward, and that probably hasn't really interrupted the long-term objectives. You just had to have a short-term sales hit. I say short-term, 18 months is incredibly painful. I don't want to diminish that, but ultimately your long-term vision always seems to be very clear on where you see the cruise market going, and that probably hasn't been interrupted, I imagine.
Yeah, I think if you consider where the sector is, and just to put a number out there, there's if you take between now and 2027, there's 50 new ships due to join globally.
Wow.
And that just gives you a sense of the optimism and the confidence in cruise. And we work really closely with Clea and the other cruise brands, and it is very much the desire is to make sure people have cruise in their consideration, because if you think about it in the
back about 10 seconds, okay.
Yeah, no problems. I was just touching, Mark, on when you think about the cruise sector, we work really closely with the broader cruise sector. We work with Clea, and we really work as a collaborative unit. But when you think about the future for the sector, I was touching on this about there's 50 ships due to join globally by the end of 2027. That's only 5 years away. It just shows that there's a real opportunity, and there's a real optimism around our sector. So that we're also within that. We've got our own new ships coming in, but it does show that there's such an opportunity for people to consider cruise, because in a given year, roughly 2 million cruise holidays happen from the UK. Now, think about package holidays from the UK. You're over 40 million in a given year. So the opportunity is significant, and we want people to consider cruise. It's such a fantastic holiday. It has such variety that we definitely have a job to really get that into the decision psyche of a guest. So yeah, huge opportunity for the sector.
I read somewhere as well that because of the lockdown, people are coming back stronger, as in they've saved their holiday budget, and actually you've seen an increase in premium bookings.
We have. Yeah, we monitor that as well quite closely. What's that discretionary spend that people have, and it's absolutely true. When you look at that ability every month, there is an opportunity for us, and we're seeing it. When we think about our offering, we've got a fantastic suite class offering, which we call the Retreat. And what we're seeing, and we saw it in 2021 with our UK ship, Celebrity Silhouette, we were seeing people book kind of top down. So it just shows people haven't had a holiday. People want a holiday, and they're willing to go a little bit bigger. And our offering is absolutely primed for it. Our Edge series ships, they are very much geared for those who want the finer things in life and really want to stretch it. So it's good that we're seeing people have that confidence again to book, and really trying to make sure they have the best holiday, because we've missed them for quite a long time.
We certainly have. I really agree. Just to touch upon our relationship, as in Celebrity Cruises and Actives, just wanted to, because not everyone will be aware that corporate trade is even around, and mind how we kind of work together. So I just wanted to touch upon how's working with Active helping you achieve more for your business.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, like we've had a really great relationship with the team in Active for quite a long time now, and it's not something new to us. But the way we work and operate with Active, it's very much a partnership, and I think that's very much what we want. We work with Active to open up new distribution. It's a different way of working, and to explain this a little, it's very much a three-way relationship where we'll work as the brand, we'll have Active support us, and then our media agency. So we're working obviously with Accords as our media agency, great agency, and we work then collectively to explore opportunities to unlock media spend and activation. So in our example, we've leveraged our inventory on the ships, and we've used that and traded that to activate media. And again, this gets us to access the database that Active has, and that different consumer and that audience. So it's very much a really easy way to unlock distribution. And that's quite important. And, you know, we've got great distribution already. We work with our website directly, and we've got our call center, and we've got our fantastic broader trade partners. But, you know, distribution in an ever-growing sector where we're not getting smaller, we're getting larger in our distribution. So it's quite key. But it's been a really long-standing relationship, but a really effective one, a really easy one to operate.
Oh, that's really good to hear. And just for the kind of listeners out there, in terms of our distribution, that would mainly consist of media owner partnerships and also corporate partnerships we have with our agency and corporate partners as well. So we look to bring that both B2C and B2B business as well to Celebrity Cruises. I'll mention it sort of briefly later as well in terms of link to more information. But thank you very much, Gerard, just to quickly explain that. So one of the areas that a lot of companies are obviously looking at the moment is sustainability, and I just wanted to ask, what Celebrity Cruise is doing in this space to basically mitigate its effect on the environment.
Something, Mark, it's somewhat in our DNA. You know, I think from a corporation standpoint, so Royal Caribbean Group, we have a consistent approach to sustainability. And I think for those who maybe don't know, it's something that has been in place. So for example, back in 1992, we launched a Save the Waves program, which was very much trying to lessen any impact we would have on the environment. So it's very much something that's built in, and it's part of how we operate. But I suppose more recently, we've got a partnership with the WWF, and within that partnership, it's quite stringent. They don't partner with anyone, and there's really strict measures and goals and targets that you have to hit to very much all around sustainability. And within that, really, there's 3 component parts. It was about reducing emissions by about 35%. Single-use plastic was a real focus, and also ensuring that landfill is not a byproduct of cruise. So that's something that's been in our DNA for years, but more recently we've been building upon it, and collaboratively with a lot of the other cruise lines, and as part of CLIA, there is an initiative, Destination Net Zero, launched last October. And this is about the long-term approach, and it's about reducing emissions to net zero by 2050. So we've got an awful lot in play. It's not something new, and I think it's very much part and part, but there's a real commitment now to accelerate that through to 2020, 2050.
Fantastic, thank you. So what do you think's next for the industry looking forward?
Yeah, I think, Mark, I touched on it with regards to the new ships coming in, but we need to really get back up and running globally. I think we've got ships from our side. We've got 10 of our 14 ships up and running, so we want to see that consistently everywhere, and we want to see that ease of understanding of cruise again come into play. So the opportunity is bright, demand is coming back, so a huge amount of good things coming for the sector over the coming years.
I'm crossing every fingers. And then more specifically, kind of what's next for Celebrity Cruises?
So if you don't know, and I'm hopeful a lot of people will be aware, but we're really excited. We have in our fleet, we've got our Edge series ships, and one of the newest, our third in class, Celebrity Beyond, is due to join us, and it's a real, I think, testament to the UK market. So she's going to launch in April here in the UK, and we are beyond excited. I don't want to, pardon the pun, but beyond excited to really showcase that ship and show what new luxury and our proposition and our offering is all about. It's exciting, and it's part of 3. So we've got 3 of the Edge series ships, including Beyond, that will be sailing in Europe in 2022. But that is real testament to the confidence in our market on this side of the globe for our Miami team to launch locally.
Yeah, fantastic. That is really, very exciting. You can't obviously stop building a ship halfway through just because of the global pandemic. But there's so many signs that the cruise market is going to go, really accelerate its growth over the next few years. Thank you very much. I'm just going to open it up, and I should have said at this beginning, so forgive me, but we'll open up the Q&As. I know most people having now done most of these webinars for the last couple of years, kind of familiar with the process. But if you want to pop your questions into the Q&A part of it down at the bottom, I would just we just open that up to ask Gerard a few questions there. So I'll just have a look at that, and we've got one of the first questions. Okay, so here we go. You mentioned that Active work with your media agency. So who does the media planning? Okay, that's relatively straightforward.
So who does the media planning?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fairly straightforward. So you know, we will work up our internal planning, and we'll work out distribution that we want to leverage, and then that's very much a collaborative. Sharing that plan with our team in Accord, sharing that with the team in Active, and it really then is about finding the mutual opportunities that we can exploit. So very much hand in hand, and it's kind of a cycle that we flow and follow.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Another question here is, couldn't you just do a direct swap with one of the media owners? Example, so you exchange your cruise inventory for some of their media. That's essentially Contra. Yeah, I mean, I can you can ask that, or I can.
I think my of course we could. I think you know, we've got a great relationship with Active, and you know, there's a trusted distribution that we work with. So absolutely we could. I think we know the benefits of working with great partners and long-standing partners. So absolutely. But Mark, yeah, feel free to add your
yeah, I was just gonna add, yes, I mean, that's kind of that's a Contra deal, as we would call it, where you just have you know, two sides that are equally balanced. I guess our difference as Active is that we have over 240 media owner partnerships on one side, so that our clients can place their media with you know, with a huge variety, with all across all media channels. And on the other side, we obviously have a huge amount of corporate partners, so that those media owners can also pay for some of their business costs using their own media with those partners. So it's a whole marketplace rather than just one swap, if you see what I mean. I'm quite happy to kind of, you know, explain that offline, but that should give you the kind of summary of it. I like this question. It's a bit off track. So Gerard, if you could add any destination for purely selfish reasons, where would it be and why? That's got you thinking.
I'll give you, yeah, well, so I'll give you so I had a very proud moment where we brought Celebrity Reflection into my hometown in Dublin a couple of years ago, and a really good feeling to be able to bring one of our amazing ships into a port that is very, very familiar to me. So we haven't necessarily had the same ability to use Dublin for quite a long time. So personally, that would be one option. But no, thinking further afield, listen, we've got we have some amazing destinations already, and I don't think we're spoiled for choice. And I think everything from the Galapagos to the Caribbean to Alaska. So if I was to say on my own, being selfish, Dublin would be it, getting that really on the cards and having something nice and close to home. But yeah, I don't think we're short for destinations as a brand globally. So no issue there.
Awesome, great answer. Another question, which mediums work well for celebrity cruises, and do you work with Active across all of your media plan?
No, in short, we don't work with Active across the entire media plan, and I think I touched on it. We've got broader distribution, so direct website, our contact center, and our concierge team, and then a very long-standing established relationships with trade partners that we've worked with for a long time. So I think we don't work with Active in every part of the business. It's very much in our direct space. So no, in short, not every part.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. One more. Can you share any noticeable changes in the demographic of your customer and booking trends since the start of the pandemic?
I can. So I suppose directionally what we've seen through the pandemic is, and it's probably not uncommon, we've seen more of our business move to the e-commerce space, so through our direct website. We've also seen at times, it depends on the product offering. So for example, if we have a bit more of a complicated holiday, something where, for example, when in our Alaska offering, we have tours that we can also package together. So we've often seen at times, depending on where the consumer is wanting to go to, we've seen the call center see changes. But I think directionally, we've seen that navigation and move to the website. I think that's not probably too uncommon with most businesses, and just the way we've operated from home, more so than going to shops and stores. So that's probably one of the noticeable changes. From a demographic point of view, I think what we've noticed more of late is that we, in our positioning, is very much around trying to attract an ever younger audience. We've seen that on our shorter settings, for example, from Southampton in 2021. So noticeable changes, but not broad sweeping changes just yet.
No, okay. Thank you very much. I think that's it. No more sort of questions. I was just going to sort of summarize. I mean, a huge thank you, Gerard. I mean, what I've taken, just been scribbling a few notes down, is obviously you had a real opportunity to have a look at new luxury. And I think the always included and the cruise with confidence are two innovations that just feel like that they've come out of a tough situation where everyone have gone, look, we're offline now almost as a business. Let's really think how to get those customers back. And I think those two are fantastic testaments to some very good thinking and the passion you also referenced from the point of the team. So really impressive for that. And in terms of the investment, it just goes on and on. The market, you quoted many times this morning, strong indications as the cruise market has a huge amount of market shares still to take because of its place in it. We briefly covered obviously active and celebrity cruises relationship. I'll just say to all the listeners out there, if you want to know how your business can use its travel inventory to pay for your marketing costs, there's a link in the chat function, or feel free to get in touch with me directly. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you learned something new. And finally, a huge thank to you, Gerard, from all of us for sharing your experience and highlighting everything we can look forward to over the coming months, which there's many. Sounds like a very exciting, busy year ahead. And finally, just wishing you all the best for a very strong market rebound this summer, which I think we can all agree we all need it.
Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much, John. And thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in. Have a good week.